Drake is under siege. And I'm not talking about a diss track. I'm not talking about a subliminal bar on somebody's album. I'm talking about hackers, extortion, leaked war files, a lawsuit that just blew up in his face in federal court, and now Serena Williams, Venus Williams, and ScHoolboy Q all dragged into the wreckage of what was supposed to be the ICEMAN rollout. This is the ugliest chapter of this entire saga, and nobody is safe. Everybody thought they had a grip on this Drake and Kendrick situation. The battle bars flew, Not Like Us shook the planet, Drake dropped his responses, people picked sides, and eventually, folks figured, okay, the dust is settling. Maybe these two just go back to their corners and make music. That was the version everybody was comfortable with. But what's been unfolding over these last few weeks, it rips that whole comfort apart. Because what we're seeing now isn't a rap beef anymore. It's not bars and counterbars. This is something darker, something more coordinated. Something that involves courtrooms, venue ownership, canceled shows, and leaked snippets that feel less like music previews and more like psychological strikes aimed at everyone in Kendrick Lamar's orbit. New information just surfaced, new footage, new receipts, and the whole narrative is twisting into something nobody predicted. Let me break it all the way down. So here's where it starts. A new snippet from Drake's upcoming album ICEMAN exploded across the internet. And when I say exploded, I mean people lost their minds within seconds. Because this wasn't just a vibe check. This wasn't Drake floating over a beat talking about Toronto nights and champagne. No, this snippet sounded like a precision-guided missile. Listen to what leaked. Drake, in his own voice, allegedly says, "Serena, but I'm cool with Venus. I might hill up fucking ScHoolboy Q and do a remix, but they making peanuts. We don't ever piece it up." Now let that sit for a second. In a handful of bars, he allegedly name-drops Serena Williams, name-drops Venus Williams, mentions ScHoolboy Q by name, and then fires off that making peanuts line that fans immediately interpreted as a direct shot at the money circulating inside Kendrick's camp and the broader TDE ecosystem. That's not a flex bar, that's a target map, and the internet treated it exactly like one. Within hours, people online turned into full-blown investigators. They started mapping out every name mentioned. They started connecting the making peanuts line to TDE's publicly known contract disputes. They started pulling up old interviews where TDE artists talked about money issues. And they started asking a question that nobody had a clean answer for. Why is Drake bringing Serena and Venus into this? Because let's keep it real, Serena Williams has been publicly supportive of Kendrick. She was spotted at the Not Like Us concert celebration. She's been vocal about her love for Kendrick's music. Venus, not as much, and that's exactly what fans latched onto. The idea that Drake is allegedly drawing a line between the two sisters, cool with Venus, not cool with Serena, splitting them apart in public perception as some kind of symbolic move. Now, is that what he meant? Nobody can say for certain, but the internet doesn't wait for certainty. The internet builds narratives at the speed of outrage, and this one caught fire immediately. But here's where it gets wilder. That snippet didn't just randomly appear. It surfaced through a very specific channel, a Discord server. And not just any Discord server, the same one that allegedly leaked tracks before Drake's previous project, Some Sexy Songs For You, even hit streaming platforms. Fans connected the dots instantly. Same Discord admin, same pattern of early access behavior, same suspiciously timed drops that always seem to land right when the public conversation needs new fuel. Think about that for a second. Every single time there's a lull in the Drake saga, every time the news cycle starts to move on, a new snippet appears, a new bar surfaces, a new name gets dragged into the fire, and it always traces back to the same pipeline. Online detectives started logging the timestamps. They started comparing when major headlines dropped, lawsuit updates, social media beefs, touring drama, against when new ICEMAN leaks appeared. And according to fans who've been tracking this obsessively, the correlation is too tight to be a coincidence. One fan breakdown on Twitter, which went mega viral, laid it out like a timeline. Lawsuit drops on a Monday, snippet leaks on a Tuesday, commentary channels blow up on a Wednesday, Drake posts something cryptic on a Thursday. Rinse and repeat. Now, does that prove Drake is orchestrating it? Absolutely not. Correlation is not causation, but the pattern is what keeps this theory breathing. And a growing faction of the internet isn't whispering about it anymore, they're screaming it. The theory goes like this. Drake's team allegedly uses these leak channels as unofficial focus groups. Seed a bar, watch the reaction, see which names trigger the biggest firestorms, see which lines fracture the opposition the deepest, and then, allegedly, rebuild the album around maximum impact. Under that lens, ICEMAN isn't just an album. It's reportedly being treated like a living weapon, reforged with each leak cycle, sharpened in real time, and every snippet you hear might be a test round, not a final product. That is a wild theory, and plenty of people think it's ridiculous, but it's the theory that's dominating conversation right now. And it collided head-on with a completely different story that makes everything even messier. Now, let's get into the motive and the machinery behind all of this, because the snippet and the Discord leaks don't exist in a vacuum. There's a whole ecosystem of pressure building around Drake right now. And to understand why the ICEMAN era feels so chaotic, so aggressive, so different from anything we've seen before, you gotta understand the multiple wars being fought simultaneously. War number one, the hackers. DJ Akademiks, and if you follow this world, you already know Akademiks has been one of Drake's most visible amplifiers for years, suddenly flipped into damage control mode. On a live stream, Akademiks dropped what felt like a bombshell. He claimed that behind the scenes, hackers were actively trying to extort Drake, that every leaked snippet wasn't just embarrassing, it was encouraging more digital attacks, that every time a song previewed on stream or surfaced on Discord, it fueled new breaches, new intrusions, new leverage for people trying to squeeze money out of the situation. Akademiks then did something nobody expected. He vowed to stop playing ICEMAN snippets altogether, said his own streams were allegedly feeding the chaos, said Drake was supposedly being forced to delete songs from the album in real time because they'd already been compromised. Let that sink in. If Akademiks is telling the truth, then ICEMAN isn't a rollout, it's a digital hostage situation. Every preview is a security breach. Every reaction video is ammunition for extortion. And Drake is allegedly rebuilding this album over and over, stripping out tracks that got leaked, trying to salvage whatever surprise factor is left. But here's the thing. That extortion narrative exists right alongside the controlled leak theory, and they can't both be fully true. Either Drake is the puppet master strategically seeding snippets to weaponize public reaction, or Drake is under open digital attack, scrambling as hackers rip the project apart from the inside. Two violently clashing storylines, and the internet is split right down the middle on which one to believe. Now layer in war number two, the courtroom. While all this digital chaos is unfolding, Drake tried to weaponize something else entirely, the legal system. He filed a defamation lawsuit over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. The argument that the track falsely portrayed him, that it crossed the line from rap battle into actionable defamation. And on top of that, Drake's legal team reportedly accused Universal Music Group of inflating Kendrick's streaming numbers through bots and pay-to-play schemes. Bold move, massive swing, and it got shut down hard. A federal judge ruled that the statements in Not Like Us were, and this is essentially the court's language, non-actionable opinion within the context of a rap battle war of words. The judge highlighted that Drake himself had arguably invited certain angles of attack through his own prior battle rhetoric. And the claims about artificial stream inflation? The court reportedly found they lacked the factual firepower needed to stand up. So instead of Drake using the law to protect his image, the lawsuit essentially cemented a brutal precedent into public record. The court essentially said, this is a cultural fistfight, and we're stepping away from the ring. Drake's team has already signaled they plan to appeal, but right now, in this moment, the message is stained into the conversation. The law won't save him from this war, and Kendrick's track walks away from that courtroom arguably stronger than it went in, because now, Not Like Us isn't just a diss track, it's a judicially acknowledged piece of rap battle expression, bulletproof in a way it wasn't before. And fans are spinning that into a devastating narrative. He couldn't beat the record in the booth, so he tried to beat it in court, and the court sided with the culture. That's a reputation scar, and no amount of PR spin erases it overnight. Now add war number 3, and this might be the darkest one: territory. Because while the lyrics rage and the lawsuits crumble, something is happening in Toronto that's poisoning the entire touring world, and it raises a question that nobody can answer cleanly. Is Drake's city being used as a silent chokehold on his enemies? Let me lay out what reportedly happened. ScHoolboy Q, TDE artist, Kendrick affiliate, had a sold-out show in Toronto, venue called History. Billboard reported the show got canceled over, quote, safety concerns. Q then takes to social media and makes a claim that shook people. He says Canadian police don't want anybody from TDE performing. Now here's the detail that makes everybody's head spin. History, the venue where Q's show got killed, is co-owned by Drake and Live Nation. Let that marinate. Then Seer, another TDE artist, steps into the crossfire. He tells a crowd that a Toronto venue partially owned by Drake canceled his show too, claims a second venue backed out because of perceived risk, leaves the impression that the Kendrick-Drake war isn't just bleeding into music anymore, it's bleeding into real-world access and real money. Fans connected those dots fast, and what they see is something far more alarming than a rap beef.
If TDE artists can't safely or easily perform in Drake's backyard, and the venues blocking them trace back to Drake's ownership orbit, then this feud has evolved. It's not just bars. It's not just subliminals. People are saying it looks like territorial control, economic pressure, a quiet infrastructure play that doesn't need a single lyric to do damage. Is it confirmed that Drake personally ordered those cancellations? No, not at all. The venue cites safety concerns. There could be legitimate security issues, but perception is its own kind of reality, and the perception right now is lethal. Suddenly, Toronto isn't just a city on the map. To a growing number of fans and commentators, it's being treated like a weapon. But here's the part that hits different. Real people are getting caught in this crossfire. Think about ScHoolboy Q. That Toronto date was a whole moment for his fans. People requested time off, booked hotels, planned nights around that show. Then out of nowhere, canceled. Safety concerns, no clear explanation. You see videos of fans outside the venue like, yo, what happened? Why are we not allowed in? Reports say some people traveled from other cities just for that show. Money gone, time gone, memory ruined. And Q himself? He's on socials clearly frustrated. Canadian police don't want nobody from TDE performing. Strip away all conspiracies, just look at that as a man whose show got clipped by some invisible decision. That's someone's provider, someone's friend, and now the public narrative ties his name to peanuts, to canceled dates, to this heavyweight war he didn't start. Same with Seer. He's telling crowds that Drake-linked venues shut him down. Imagine being an artist just trying to work. You craft a set, you rehearse, you're excited to connect with fans, then suddenly, behind-the-scenes politics closes that door. The people losing the most aren't million-dollar corporations. It's regular fans, mid-tier artists who live off touring, folks posting unused tickets, screenshots of canceled flights. They're collateral in somebody else's war. Meanwhile, on the same day Q's show dies, Drake posts crystal blue boots on Instagram. No caption, just boots. Outlets connected to Q's blue slides aesthetic. People call it a silent message. Your Toronto play got killed. I'm still here. Check the drip. That's the human cost that doesn't get talked about enough. This whole situation gets even crazier when you see how deep fans went with the controlled leak theory. Online detectives have spreadsheets. Date leaked, which celebrity mentioned, what public event was trending that week. You'll see entries like snippet with Serena/Venus/Q line right after history cancellation reported. They're basically arguing these drops aren't random, they're pressure valves. Meanwhile, the multiple ICEMAN versions rumor floats around. Akademiks mentioned Drake supposedly rebuilt this album multiple times, version 3, version 4, recutting after every major leak. People call this the ghost album problem. Every snippet might be from a version that no longer exists. Then Charlamagne the guy drops that he heard Future might be on ICEMAN. That one line detonated everything. For days, people argued about lawsuits and venue bans. Then Charlamagne says Future, and half the timeline switches to Drake Future about to drop another toxic anthem. Critics call it a distraction tactic. Every time the narrative gets too negative, suddenly there's a new rumor about a fire collab. Some fans say it's genius marketing. Others say it's proof the house is on fire and they're rearranging furniture. The Toronto situation keeps getting brought up. People dig into history. Who owns what percentage? How bookings get approved? Nobody has a smoking gun, but that doesn't matter for perception. Even without confirmed orders from above, the perception is lethal. TDE artists say their moves are getting blocked. Venues tied to Drake's name become part of the story whether he speaks or not. That alone turns Toronto from a scene into a symbol. If you're with Kendrick, good luck moving through Drake's backyard. What we're seeing here is way bigger than Drake versus Kendrick. This is what happens when celebrity, tech, and territory fuse into one pressure cooker. When an artist becomes as big as Drake, every part of their life turns into a lever. Owning part of a venue, that's perceived territory. Posting a selfie, that's a strategic signal. Filing a lawsuit, that's a public chess move. The scariest allegation isn't even about lyrics. It's this idea that one artist's orbit could limit another camp's ability to perform in a whole city. If that's real, it means who you beef with might decide where you can work. Ownership becomes a weapon. Fans get cut off from artists over politics they can't control.
Then you got hackers. The more everything moves digital, the more leverage shifts to whoever can breach a cloud account. A decade ago, to sabotage a rollout, you needed a leaked CD. Now, you could be anywhere with a laptop. By going to court over Not Like Us and losing, Drake may have accidentally upgraded Kendrick's record from diss track to culturally protected artillery. The judge's language frames their exchange as legitimate war of words. That changes everything. It means you can't sue your way out of a loss. You have to rap your way out. And right now, Drake isn't rapping. He's leaking. He's plotting. He's posting boots. So where does ICEMAN stand right now? It feels like we're watching three different Drakes fight for control. Rollout Drake wants to tease snippets, post icy selfies, move like the biggest star. Under Siege Drake, the one AK describes, ducking hackers, scrapping songs, rebuilding albums. Corporate Drake tried to weaponize courts, runs venues, manages business fallout. Right now, all three are colliding in public. ICEMAN isn't the upcoming Drake album anymore. It's a legal aftershock, a hacker battleground, a quiet war over venues and territory. With every leak, rumor, canceled show, it feels less like a project and more like a live-streamed collapse. We might get an album that feels laser-focused, like all this chaos was noise, or we might get something fractured, like a diary of half-healed cuts. If more TDE shows get announced in Toronto and go through clean, that pokes holes in the silent ban narrative. But if we see more cancellations, more safety concerns, that perception locks in hard. Drake runs his backyard like a fortress. The myth becomes reality. Stay locked in because this story is nowhere near finished. More leaks could surface, more shows could get announced or canceled. That Future rumor might flip from talk to track list. So I want to hear from you. Do you think these ICEMAN leaks are controlled rollout, or is Drake really under digital attack like Akademiks claims? Do you think Drake influences what happens with TDE artists in Toronto, or is this fear and corporate anxiety turning into conspiracy? And when ICEMAN finally drops, are you expecting a classic or a car crash? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like the video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss updates. We're covering every twist, any new snippet, any statement from TDE, any move from Drake's camp, any court updates. This situation is straight crazy and evolving in real time. Stay safe out there, and remember, on the internet, everybody wants front row seats to drama. But once you start playing with power, the drama starts playing with you. I'll catch y'all in the next one.